Right, it's a double A side, whatever that means. But I like the idea of double A. So Candlelight was the one, but a lot of people, so a lot of people, a number of people seem to prefer. Oh, I've got to change the speed, haven't I? That won't sound right. Is that right? Let's try that. My name's Phil, and I've lived in Lincoln for the last 20 years now, but I've been busking since about September 2010. My first conscious memory of thinking I want to be involved in music was when I was at a school called Davidson School in South Norwood in London. And I was walking across the hall, the assembly hall, one lunchtime, and there was this group of students on stage, and they were playing, I think, some Seekers, some sort of middle of the road type music. And I remember thinking to myself, I would have been 13 or 14 at the time. I remember thinking to myself, this sounds fantastic, and these people are making this music. And I thought to myself, I want to be able to do that. And almost immediately, I started to think, oh, I've got to get a guitar, I've got to, get an instrument, and got to start then. And that would have been 1970, about probably March or April. So in Lincoln, anyone can busk, but you're expected to abide by certain, basically common sense and decency, really. In Lincoln, they seem to be very, very appreciative of not just me, but all the kind of entertainment and thing that goes on in the street, and they seem to, respond to it quite positively. In 1973, 74, I went to Wimbledon School of Art, where I met a guy, Steve Gibbs, and he was a really good guitarist. So we managed to hook up into a group, and for a while there we were kind of recording stuff. I was doing my own stuff, individual stuff, and then we were doing stuff as a group. Anyway, so my brother provided the funds for me to record this record, Candlelight, and on the other side recorded a song called They're Poisoning. And that came about in early 1979, and I think I released it independently in March rather of 1979, and did a lot of things to promote it, including going on Capital Radio and doing their soapbox, and going on to do a publicity walk from Wimbledon to Westminster, handing out leaflets and dressed in a gas mask and a blooming cape and stuff like that. We got a bit of interest, I think, from Ireland Records, and they more or less said, oh, go out and get involved, go out on the road for a while and, build up a bit of a fan base, if you like, or following or whatever, and then, we'd probably be interested. Anyway, I was involved in the church at that time, and for me the idea of going out on the road, I used to keep Saturdays as a Sabbath as opposed to a Sunday, and I couldn't really take on that lifestyle of going out on the road, as it were. So reluctantly, in a way, I was at a dichotomy. I withdrew from the group. I said to them, look, I'm going to have to, I can't really pursue this, and there's a lot of disappointment all around, including on my part, and I agonised about the decision, but I thought it was the right decision. And then I had the opportunity of going to America and studying over there, doing a degree in theology and liberal arts, you know. And when I was there, I had the opportunity to teach at the college where I was studying, just doing a basic art class, because I qualified as an art teacher. So I got more teaching experience there, and I also worked in a school, and I taught there probably from 3rd grade through to 12th grade, I think. And then in the early 90s, because that was in 1983 that I graduated in Pasadena, California, and then in the early 90s I went back to teaching, but within the state system, because I was back in this country by that time.
I don't really actually know a lot about him, to be honest. I've just sort of seen him this summer. To the city of Lincoln, he sort of brings like a bit of variety. Yeah, he's like quite quick with his music. I like him, yeah.
So the weather is a big factor as a busker. If you get cold and wet and damp, that's going to affect, you know, your performance, but also it affects people's attitude. You see, you know, that people sometimes just aren't in the mood, however cheery you might be. It's different if it's like the winter and it's like you know, like the Christmas market's coming up and I'm due to play there. That's different. So in a general sense, the weather. Then, of course, you've got the occasional oddball. Now, most people look at me and think that I'm an oddball, and they'd probably be right. I try to be quite genial and you know, accommodating, because I always think to myself, well, look, I'm imposing myself on them or the community. Why shouldn't I expect them to, you know, reciprocate? So I do try to be quite patient, but sometimes people do try to be patient. So there's that. And then you just get the odd nutcase, and that can be a bit disturbing. I was busking at the Stonebow here in Lincoln, and I remember what I was playing. Well, everybody will know because it's on YouTube now, Mr. Tambourine Man. And I was getting into it there, and then suddenly I felt my hat go off. I'm still playing, and I don't chase after him. One reason, I've got all my gear in front of me and the money and everything. Secondly, I thought he was just joking, and he'd turn around and bring it back, which, you know, if I did something like that, I thought, oh, you know, it's a bit of a laugh, a bit of a prank, turn around, bring it back. No, just disappeared into the distance. So I thought to myself, well, I know it's just a hat, but I'm not having it. I'm going to call the police. I said to myself, well, I'm not only going to do that, I'm going to put it up on... I went to my sons afterwards. I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on YouTube. That's what I'm going to do. And so it all kind of took off from there. And then Look North saw the story, and they rang me the morning that it appeared in the Echo. Cool, can we film? So they came here, actually, and filmed in here. And then that went on their programme. And quite a number of people, because it was on YouTube, recognised the guy and got in touch with me and whatever. And the police actually closed the case, but when they realised that it was in the media and the press, I suddenly got a call from the police. Oh, Mr. Gray, sorry, for some reason your case was closed, but, you know, could we come over and take a statement, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they eventually caught the guy, and I won't say what his name is, but it was in the papers, and he got 7 weeks. He got 7 weeks in prison, which, you know, I'd have rather had my hat back, which I never got.
Well, I think he's the only busker that has always got a smile on his face. At least when you see Phil playing his music, it's a nice way to get through the day. If you've had a bad day and you hear him singing a song about "Don't worry, be happy," then you're going to feel happy. And Phil does that. He brings the best out in people and reminds them it's not so bad. It's all right out there.
Back in 2000, 2001, I started to try and market myself to schools, because I was doing a lot of supply teaching at that time. But I've really wanted to sort of like tour and go around the country in different cities and things and play. And initially I thought, well, that would be, you know, in venues and things. But since starting busking in September last year, I realised that I actually enjoy playing on the street a lot more than I do indoors. Not just for the money, but also for the enjoyment of actually playing. So I want to bring that same kind of music and passion and excitement to other cities, but ultimately I'd like to go to Britain and also America and busk, you know, or at least perform outdoors, you know, at festivals and things like that. So, you know, look out, Tin Pan Alley, here I come.